Well, I just might insert right here that you might also take a note that none of us kids are farmers. Well, I was thinking of maybe a fun story. It's not really pig related, or even animal related, although a lot have come to mind since you started talking about the sheep. Like Grandpa, we'd be trying to get one better. He'd be laying there, and Grandpa would be over there, and we're trying to get it feeling better, and we're trying to give it some water, and it's just laying there, and Grandpa would stand up and kick it and say, "Get up and try to live." You know? Anyway, fun. I also remember one year when the sheep shears came, and we're shearing the sheep, and they were a younger bunch of boys at this time. They were like, I don't know, latter teens, and they were just a bunch of guys that come up and were shearing, 3 or 4 of them, and I thought it was always quite amazing how many times Lorene would bring up some ice water or some punch for these boys. And I thought, boy, she's really taking good care of our... It wasn't until later that I kind of put 2 and 2 together. But
and we swung in, and that skunk was right out in the garden like that, and he turned and started in. Boy, I didn't let him get in. I was out of that car and had the shotgun at that jump.
I remember porcupines and a lot of little critters running around in our fields. And
yeah.
You didn't have enough force if you just threw them down. You had to get them spinning them by their tail. So they were spinning, and then you'd throw them down, and then you could get enough force to kill them.
this is terrible, isn't it, you guys? There's nothing to tell. I was just walking back to the house, and I walked past Grandpa's great big tractor, and it just started. It was a miracle. But seriously.
and were you supposed to?
It had a big starter that Grandpa put on it, and one of those kids that had a thing that they found today had a thing that was like that on it, and they pulled that rod. He got there, he bent around up on the top. He pulled that starter over. Boy, that's a good thing it was in gear. It wasn't in gear.
So the miracle was wrong.
It took right off. It went.
I've always been a miracle child.
So and he was out there, standing right there at the side of it. And it was just going away like that. He said, Mom, I just looked at this thing and it started. So, it started.
It was lucky it wasn't in gear. Or it would have plowed all the way over here, and heaven knows where. I'd have been a scared young boy on the top of a running tractor.
Oh, but I thought you were just walking by it.
Yeah. My side of that story started when Dad burst into my room and said, "Rod, get dressed. Lawrence drove the car in the canal. Come on." I go, what? What? So I went up, and he took the tractor and the lifter, and I took the great big Boley, and we had a big old G6 Boley. We went down there, and Lauren, you know, he was really doing good. He took the brunt of it. He dove down in the canal and tied a chain around the bottom of the car, but the lifter wouldn't lift it out.
Yeah.
It wouldn't lift it out because the current had lodged the car under the bridge. He drove on the north side of the bridge, and so the current had lodged the car under the bridge, so we couldn't lift it out. So we got it to as far as that lifter and tight as it would go. Then I hooked a big G6 Moline on it, And then I went out there and got the chain as tight as I could and just shoved that big clutch in, and that G6 reared back and the front wheels came up off the ground, and Dad was on the trailer and he pulled ahead with that tractor with the farm wall, and that thing just, it took everything and it burst out of the canal just like a water skier taking off. Up onto the, yeah, I remember that story.
Do you remember that?
We brought it home and we took all the spark plugs out and we turned it over and canal water went. That thing turned over and said, it's never going to work again.
It was mid-70s. I was about 15 years old, and for as long as I can remember, I loved riding my motorcycle, and it was a little Honda 90, and of course Evel Knievel was big back then. You guys don't even know who that is, do you? I used to jump motorcycles all the time, so there was a jump down here. It's not there anymore, but I made jumps down on the canal road. I have no idea why they plowed them up.
I don't know either. I just went over to go on them today and they weren't
No,
there.
they weren't there. Can you imagine that? I don't know why. But I had some nice jumps down there, and so I would go down there and I'd just jump and see how far I could fly and then land on my motorcycle. And I thought, well, I better document this, so nobody's ever going to believe that I could jump this far on my motorcycle. So,
And let me just add, Rod, before he had to weld his pegs on again because he'd broken both of them
On a landing?
on the landing.
Handlebars had to be reinforced because of the impact.
you had to modify your wheels. So anyway, took Mom down, and I thought I'll get Mom and she'll have her take a picture. So I got her with her camera, and sure, it's cute little Mom. Yeah, I'll be happy to take a picture of you on your motorcycle. I said, well, I want you to come down. So you got her on the back of my motorcycle and drove her down there and said, I want you to stand right here, and I'm going to come by right here, flying right here in front of you, and I want you to take a picture. And she, oh, okay, that sounds fun. Cute Mom, she is. Grandma's so sweet, she's so kind. She always saw the good, even when it was right in front of her. And so I'd go back and I'd take off and I'd come up there and beautiful ramp. I hit it just right, execution, flying right there in front of Mom. And I lit over there and I turn around and come running up and Mom's, she had the camera down here and I said, so Mom, did you get it? She says, don't you ever do that again! And I said, Mom, I've been doing it for years. Did you get the picture? She said, no, you don't ever do that again. You're gonna hurt yourself. And I go, oh heavens. So finally I calmed her down and talked her into it, and I got some pictures of me.
About how far did you fly and how high did you get?
I flew about 8 feet high and about 60 feet, which is a little longer than this house.
That's a long way in the air.
Wow.
No
It was
wonder
pretty
Mom was
fun.
freaked out.
So this was not a trail 90.
No, it was a little runabout, what they call it? I don't know. Sportster 90.
There was a real steep ramp that went up like this. It was about 4 feet up at an angle like this, and then it just went off like that. So by the time that motorcycle came up, he was going like this, and then hit down on the side.
I
So,
could land pretty good.
yeah, he was catching quite a bit of air off that jump.
Rod used to catch air on his motorcycle. I mean, we'd go down there on our bicycles, and we'd go off the other direction, going down, trying to catch some air. And I can't remember who did it, but they went off that jump, catching some air, and kind of the same problem Maureen had with her car and the wheel falling off. The tire on the bike fell off. So you're going down there, and you got the forks of the tire, and they stuck in the ground.
That's Daddy.
Was that you, Gary?
That was me. We would get up on the hill up here and we'd ride our bikes down this side of the house here and out onto the road. We'd have somebody out here watching to see if there's any cars coming. And then we'd go right down here. You remember this little ramp down here where we used to back the trucks in and load equipment sometime? We would go down into the borrow pit and then up that ramp about just like this, and it goes up about 4 or 5 feet. And then it flattened off and then come over and then dropped off into the canal. The water was over here. So we would ride our bikes up there and we'd hit that ramp and we'd go straight up like this, and then we'd come back down and hit on our back wheels and then our front wheels, and then we had just enough time to turn out of the way before, so you wouldn't go in the canal. And then we'd go do it again. That was so fun. Well, one time I came down there and went up there on my bike and went right up in the air, and as I went up in the air like this with my bike, I saw my front wheel go out over like that. And I came back down and hit the back wheel, and my forks of the bike with no wheel came forward and hit into the ground, and I went right over the front of that, and I think I rolled into the canal. But I had to go in anyway to go get my wheel.
It's 9:45, so I think maybe we ought to go to bed.
I think Mom's had about
Wise
enough
words.
of all this she didn't know about.
I think I've heard some of it before.
I think she's probably heard enough.